you can if you think you can, and your brain will answer the question as big as you ask it. But I think those two things were probably quite driving for me, that when I was younger, I absolutely, unequivocally, never for a moment thought about failure. Yeah. I just believed I could, so I did.
Welcome, Simon. That's even better. Like, even just saying welcome. Welcome, Simon.
Thank you for having me.
That was like a threatening way of welcoming you. Welcome.
I suppose it's a funny thing when you're doing podcasts and you've already had a chat when somebody watches the podcast.
Yeah.
It's like the start of the conversation, but of course. Yeah.
It's such a weird fake thing, isn't it? The whole hi. Yeah. And then my voice does that.
Yeah.
So I am so excited that you have agreed to this. I'm also quite impressed by myself to convince you to go on this.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited about this, actually.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Honestly, like, I think when I first had the idea for this podcast about it being about being ekte, which is the Norwegian word for real, authentic. And this is something I've always really cared a lot about. And then I started thinking about people that I've had interesting conversations about. And for me, the thing that I really want the podcast to be about is those really like connecting conversations where you talk to someone and you really like the way they think and you want to explore more. And I had that with you when I first met you.
Okay.
And then never had it again.
Well,
no, just kidding.
Well, saying about the ekte, I guess the one thing that I probably am is authentic and honest. So I'm open to the conversations today as well, see where it goes. But I think you make good connections with people if they are genuine and authentic and open and real about. And I think that's really important to me as well. Like I don't really have a front. And probably more so in certain environments, like being part of the agency scene and the people that I communicate within the agency world in the various WhatsApps or Slack channels, whatever it might be. I think authenticity and honesty and openness is, a thing that I probably would say I bring to the table.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more than knowledge and skills of running agencies, but we'll see.
No, bullshit. I don't believe that. I think actually you saying that makes a lot of sense to me because you are humble, but you're humble in a way that you know what your strengths are, but also you kind of like overemphasize what you think is your weaknesses, which I think is your strength.
Maybe. Yeah. I think I've got pretty high levels of self-awareness. So I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm bad at. I know what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling. And I know when I should be in a room or not, and when I've got something to contribute or not. So I think that probably helps me be authentic.
Yeah.
Because if I think it needs somebody to say something pretty straight, then I would. If I don't think I'm going to add value, then I'll probably sit quietly. So that's kind of self-awareness means that I am pretty clear on when I'm going to be able to offer value or not, whether that's in life, in conversations, in a friendship group or in my business. Yeah. I know when to put myself in a room in the business as well and when not to be in the room. I think.
Yeah. So when we had our chat before the podcast, one of the things that we touched on that I think is so interesting. So both of us have run agencies. You're still running your agency boutique.
Yeah.
Which how big are you? Like, what is that?
We're about 27, 28 people. Yeah. We've been going since 2012. As with every agency, we've had brilliant times and difficult times. Typical rollercoaster of agencies, really. We started in 2012. It was a slightly unusual story in terms of how we set up. It wasn't a complete startup agency because I reversed into something and took it over. It was only a one-man band at the time, but it did mean that I kind of knew I had income when I started. So that startup story is probably a little bit different to other people who sit at a desk and are like what do I do now?
Yeah.
I actually had work to pay the
start.
bills, which allowed me to go and do it.
Yeah, but many people do that. Like a lot of people, especially in agency land, they start getting clients and then they hand in the notice.
Pinch a client from agency.
Yeah.
That's a pretty common way to get going.
When you set up, so 2012, were you in your early 30s or?
2000, I'd have been 34.
34.
Yeah.
So early 30s. So it was the year I turned 30 that I set up Verve. But what I find is that the kind of confidence and like the confidence and self-belief, knowing what I was doing, was so high back then. I felt so like, yeah, of course I can do this. Like, yeah, no, I haven't set up a business before, but who cares? I figure out.
Yeah.
Well, now I feel very differently. How did you like? What were you like when you set up the agency?
Go back to that self-awareness. So here's the truth. I was arrogant enough to think I was better than everybody else in the room. So I'm just going to go do it for myself.
Yeah.
So working in a small agency, I was exposed to big agency. But in any given room with a load of agency people of a similar age in similar positions, I think I had the confidence, maybe you could call it arrogance, to think I'm better than everybody else in this room, so why on earth am I not doing this for myself? Don't think I really knew what doing it for myself meant. It certainly didn't mean doing one-to-ones and HR profiles and agreeing rents and rates, and that is not in your brain when you set up an agency. It was about I'm good at this thing, whatever that individual person's skill set is. I'm good at this thing. I'm better than other people, so I'll go and just sell and do and deliver more of that thing. Yeah. And that was all that was really in my mind. I mean, when I reflect on it, which I've just said at the beginning of this, it was a time, or in the conversation prior to us recording, 2011-12 was a time of like economic challenges. Mm-hmm. Like it was not a time to be setting up a business. I was completely oblivious to that. I don't think at the time I had any idea what was happening in the economy. I didn't give a monkeys about the news, didn't care what was happening in the industry. I just had this naivety mixed with self-confidence that I'm just going to go set up a business because what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
And I believed that when I looked around a room of any number of agents, people I might be in a room with, I thought, well, if some of these guys can do it, surely I can do it too. I can give it a go. Yeah. I think benefits of youth to some extent. I mean, 34 wasn't particularly young, was I? But just the self-confidence and belief.
Yeah. But I think that's really important. I think that's such a big part of actually entrepreneurship. That the first step is you have to believe that you can. And I do think that youth does bring a bit of extra kind of like, I wouldn't call it arrogance. It's more like a positivity that it will work out well. Like the kind of negative patterns of time, of experience hasn't tainted you as much, I guess.
Yeah, I guess at that time I hadn't had any... there's no scar. You haven't picked up any scars at that point. When you start an agency, you haven't picked up any of the scars that you suffer from when you own an agency. I love sayings. I've got books full of sayings, and you just said one then. You can if you think you can, and your brain will answer the question as big as you ask it. So if you've got that belief, I think sometimes those two things could possibly be confused with arrogance. Yeah. But I think those two things were probably quite driving for me, that when I was younger, I absolutely, unequivocally, never for a moment thought about failure. Yeah. I just believed I could, so I did. Yeah. And I got on with it. And I think that's that's often a trait of entrepreneurs. That I think there's a common thread. I don't think many successful entrepreneurs started with any kind of limiting beliefs or started thinking there's a very good chance I might fail here. Yeah. And if they did, I think the positive emotions overrode that of I can do this, I will do this, I need to, whatever it might have been. I think the positives have to outweigh the negative emotions and so on to be able to to be successful in.
Yeah,
business.
for sure. And I do there is some neuroscience on this where the obviously the patterns, that the pathways in the brain, when you are thinking positively that you can, those become like little roads where it becomes more likely that you think positively, and then you go into that positive thinking, and therefore imagining it going well, it also helps it go well. Yeah. Because that energy, you lose energy thinking negative. Like it actually your muscles loses the ability to keep strong, even if you just think negative thoughts.
Yeah, I think mindset and any kind of exercise or processes that people use to build the self-confidence and belief systems, I think it still seems a little bit woo-wah to certain people.
Yeah.
But if you train your body at something, you're going to get faster, fitter, stronger, longer, whatever it might be that you're trying to do. And the brain is no different. Mm-hmm. I remember somebody having a conversation with somebody about bear with me on this story. Mm. When we were younger and computers came around, and we used to play Tetris on the little handheld, whatever
Game Boy.
It was. Game Boy.
Yeah.
I used to play Tetris on the Game Boy and played it so much that when I was falling asleep, I would picture the Tetris.
I remember doing that as well.
Because basically you just overwhelmed your brain with something that it stays there in it, and the repetition of that thing. Well, that's just pure science. If you keep repeating something in your brain, it's going to do something. That's why that manifestations and so on work. I said I love sayings. What you think about and think about, you bring about. So what you think about, you can bring about. I do believe that.
Yeah.
If you focus on the positive, you focus on success and winning, you're going to have a much greater likelihood of being successful and winning. And I instill that into my children, who are all they're very sporty and
I had so interesting you're saying that, because that is I think it's a big contributor to how I did well, is that for me, the whole visualizing what would happen and how we would have a positive outcome was such a big part of the reason that I had the fuel enough. And so I did like vision boards and stuff since I was a teenager. Yeah. So when I ran my agency, every year, every single person would have a vision board. And so
you get everybody in the agency to do it too?
Yeah. So every January, I would do a vision board workshop and talk to them about like the science behind it and why it actually works. So basically, one of the easiest way to describe it, because the neuroscience of it, weirdly, there's so much science to back up manifestation, but because the people associated with the new age hippie culture, they think it must not be true, which is ridiculous. But there are very easy ways of explaining it. Like, for example, if we talk about a red car, or you're saying that you really, really saw this like really gorgeous red car. As soon as we've had this chat about red car, you start noticing red cars for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
It is basically based on your senses gets between 50 to 100 million bits of information every second. But your consciousness and your brain can only really notice between 50 and 100 bits of information every second. Yeah. But you can choose which 50 and 100 that you notice. So that is part of why manifestation works, is because you notice what you decide to notice. If the thing that you want, I am looking, like if I tell me what is red in this room, you start looking around and you see the red things because you're looking for the red things. Yeah. But if we went out into to the garden now and I said how many red things was, you wouldn't have no idea. Yeah. But once you notice it, it makes a big difference. Yeah. So we did these vision boards every January, and some people weren't so keen on it, and I never would push them to do it, but I still do them because I think it's such a great way of focusing your mind of what you want to happen. Because so many people think about the negatives. They're like, oh, well, it might turn out really badly, or this might happen, or this might happen.
Yeah.
It's a bit like skiing. We say, don't look at the trees.
Yeah,
because you're gonna fucking hit it.
And the same as the motorbike. When you turn in the corner, look around the corner, not at the car on the other side of the road. Because you will direct yourself to what you're looking at. Pay attention to what you pay attention to.
Yes.
You need to make sure that you're focusing on the right things. Yeah.
Exactly.
So you say that you did the vision board. So 2 weeks ago, every January I go away on my own for 3 or 4 days, and I just do annual planning. And I've got quite a set process of what I do about reflecting on the previous year, what went well, even better if I'm honest, it's probably more personal than business.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about what I might want to do with the next year of my life. I'm very mindful that my children are all growing up and don't want to lose that time. So what's going to make the next year really special? And so I write at the end of that retreat, I write a paragraph, which is what I'm writing to myself on the 31st of December at the end of the year. So 2026 was the best year ever because, and then I'll write why 2026 was the best year ever, and then I basically try and make those things happen.
I love that.
And I try to make it realistic, and I try to remove it from business because I think business will play into it, but my business elements would be more along the lines of I remain fulfilled through the work that I do.
That's
I
how it should
focus on
be.
the things that I want to focus on.
Yeah.
I've got a great team around me. Those things versus
hitting
we're going to
what we do.
embed AI into our 12-month plan. Like, I don't do those things.
Yeah.
It's much more emotive, visualized feelings, emotions.
That is basically like a vision board, but yours form is writing it.
Yeah,
I love that. That's
and
so
I will,
cool.
and I can break that down so I'll have real clarity of there's certain things I want to do. So every year I'll visit a new city with my 2 youngest children. So that's on the list. So that becomes an action. I need to decide where I'm going to go and book that trip.
Cool.
I want to be better at DJing, so I'm gonna actually get myself some lessons.
Yeah.
But I start with
Vision of what you want.
Wouldn't it be great if I went to the Ibiza trip and I could be one of the guys that did the DJ, and I'm not good enough yet.
Yeah, cool.
So,
see, this is why, because the vision, you start with the vision, and then it becomes the actions of the little experiments of trying to reach it. And then there's also lots of things that happen through the year that you don't know yet, but when you have in your mind. But I love that you write it as in the form of, this is what's happened. I've had the best year, because then you're focusing on the feeling, and that's really important, because your mind, your brain will much easier work towards something that has an emotional resonance.
Yes,
that's really important for our brain, and we think it isn't, and that then it always ends up being. So being fulfilled and being in a good place and that in work I think are more important than to put in what your profit margins are going to be, or because especially when you're an entrepreneur, it should work for you.
I mean, I have those things in a business plan, and I'll spend, we do this around our financial year, and I will do the same thing for the business. Yeah. That we call it 135, which is the one statement, and then 3 big hairy goals out of it. And there's 5 things that will fall within that. Cool. Though it's never 1, then 3, then 5, but it's a theory. We end up with 1, 7, 14, or whatever it might be. Yeah. But we do the same thing. We have that idea of the big direction of travel that we want the business to go in the next 12 months. The business plan 1 does tend to be more measurable. Yeah. So we want to. We might say we want to deliver the best year of sales ever, or we have the best net promoter score, or the best employee retention, but then we'll turn that into a number. So if we want that means we need to get to 95 retention. What are we actually doing to get to 95 retention? But it starts with that more visualized, emotive direction of travel. And I think that just the visualization and the mindset around it all. So if I say I need to buy new wardrobes for the boys' bedrooms, and I'm just going to get them from IKEA, that is very uninteresting and unexciting for my brain. But if I say I want the house to be, I'm still developing my dream house. Well, for me to get there, I really want to improve the boys' bedrooms. So I'm going to change the wardrobes, and Alex wants to repaint his, and he's seen a couple of pictures that he wants, and he's going to be really happy in that. So I'm just completely reframing that I need to go to IKEA on Sunday and buy these wardrobes, and actually putting it into a purpose and an end point that's got much more positive emotion attached to it.
That's smart.
And it makes a difference to how you approach stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Have you always done that? Like, how did that come about?
No, I don't think I have. I think I went through a period of... I think one thing that I am probably obsessive with is self-development. I mean, I'll read a minimum of 15 books a year that are about self-development or probably business books, but much more in the being a better leader or how to manage the stress. It's more that kind of area versus learning more about finance, for example. And I've always been obsessed with self-development. So if I see a course that looks interesting, then I'll go on it. And I've been part of like business groups and like mastermind groups.
Yeah.
I've always been part of that. I've seen quite a lot of speakers, and I think over time I've just picked up little bits here and there from different people that I've turned into my kind of my workbook, my Bible for life.
Yeah.
I watch podcasts and listen to podcasts endlessly.
Yeah.
I have 6 hours in the car to and from work every week, so that's 6 podcasts roughly.
Yeah.
And as I say, I read a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly soaking things up. I mean, some of it gets lost, and I can look at a book, start reading it, and think, "Oh shit, I've read this before."
Yeah.
What a shame that I can't remember any. I never did anything with all the useful information in this.
Yeah.
But I think over the time, the more self-development and the more books you read, the more podcasts you listen to, the more rounded you become, the deeper your thoughts can be, and there's so many things you can pull from. So when I'm talking to you here and I'm talking about the different things that I've done and I do, and sayings that I like and so on, my brain is flicking all the time with the person that I got it from, the podcast it was on, or the person I met, or the inspirational speaker that I've seen. And so not anything that I know and so on is not really mine. I kind of steal it from everywhere else.
Yeah, that's knowledge.
Alongside organic learnings.
But there's usually, because we're very similar like that. That's one of the reasons I think we bonded very quickly when we met at the agency hackers Ibiza summit. Yeah. And I'm also, like, you can see all the books, like it's like a slight addiction to buying these kind of books. But I now kind of realize what that's about. I think there's usually some like ground zero to the decision that you want to be the best that you can be. And that knowledge, the hunger for knowledge about yourself and others to relatedness. Is there something that...
I think if you worked with the right person, you could drill into that and understand what your belief systems and your values are. So one thing which we use in the business actually, but it's very personal to me, is realise your potential. I think everybody has the opportunity to realise their potential. Now, much like the thinking and work of Alain de Botton, I'm not saying everybody needs to be fabulous. It's very, very fine to be normal. And realising your potential, maybe that's just about happiness and fulfilment. Like the person who's happy and fulfilled, like congratulations to you because you've got it all. Versus the person chasing everything.
Yeah.
So for me, realise your potential is really, really important, and understanding what that means to me or to the people in my business. I push this on my children, poor boys, all the time, about making sure that if they're in it, they're all in.
Yeah.
I say to them, and I coach kids sport as well, I say, how you do anything is how you do everything. And I really believe that. Like how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
So if you're going to turn up to do my youngest boy, who's 11, is doing his black belt training at the moment, and he competes gets in the ring and gets beaten up by people in mixed martial arts. And I say how you do anything is how you do everything. So the discipline of turning up, showing up, working hard, make sure that your appearance is right and that you're clothed properly when you walk into the dojo. It's that if you're doing all of those things, that becomes the behaviours that you live with for the rest of your life, and none of those things are hard. It's not like I'm whipping the children into particular behaviours. I'm just trying to set them a tone of doing things the right way. And I say it to all the kids that I coach. If somebody doesn't turn up with the shin pads, that's what you're doing. That's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Take responsibility for yourself. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
I think things like that. I think.
Do people repeat it back to you, going we know?
So sometimes in football, if they gave up or they weren't working hard, or Logan's in a training session in the gym and I can see he's losing interest, then I'll just say, how you do anything. And then
that's all.
They'll say it back to me.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll be, how you do it? And, they're saying it with a drain because it's tiring, but keep repeating the message. But it's just, again, I think I'm quite clear on some of my belief systems and values, and that all plays into, I think everybody should fulfill their potential. That doesn't mean you need to be brilliant at something.
No. Yeah,
that
that's a good
doesn't mean
point.
I have to own the best agency in the country. So long as I feel like I'm doing the best job I can do at running that agency, then I'm very, very comfortable and happy with that. And I think that can apply to all areas of your life.
Oh, absolutely. I really like that. I think that kind of attitude, I think I actually talked to Mike King about this as well, about apply yourself, do the best you can in whatever job you have. Why it blows my mind where people don't think themselves.
Yeah.
And the thing I used to repeat back, and it's the thing of when people say, I don't know, I'm like, well, not yet, but have you tried to figure it out yourself? Thinking yourself is quite important for me.
I don't know is never the answer to any question.
No, that's true.
It just isn't.
No.
I don't know. You mean you don't know yet? Or you haven't figured it out yet?
Yes, exactly.
Or I'm unsure at the minute, but I'll go and find out and let you know. Again, these are the things that you can get the tone that I'm probably quite an annoying parent. Because if I ever say and they say I don't know, they know that they're not going to get away with saying something like that.
Exactly. Well, I think
so. There's something else in that about the fulfillment. I think we live in a society that is driven by success measures that are external versus internal values and internal measures of success. So success in the society we live in is what you do for a living, how much money you've made, how beautiful is your husband, how beautiful are your children, how good did they do in the GCSEs, how big is your house. It's all immaterial, illogical measures.
Top trumps.
That I think, and I think that is success in the society that we live in. If you've there's a thing called blue zones. I can't remember the chap that did it. It's actually, there's a series about it on Netflix, and they found blue zones around the world, which is essentially very small hyperlocal areas where people significantly outlive everybody else globally, but also within the enclosed environment of that area. So, for example, there's one in Greece, but there's an actual area within Greece that's the blue zone. So people in this area outlive the global average, but also the rest of Greece. The reason for the one in Greece is they all live on hills, so they're constantly exercising because they go up and down to all the amenities. Simple as that. Wow. The one in Japan, which, again, Japanese have a higher life expectancy, is because of the value that they place on their duty to society.
Yeah.
So that's just another way of saying their job. but they don't see it as a job. They see it as a duty to society. So no matter what they're doing, they'll do it to the best of their attention. They'll do it with absolute pride that they're contributing to their society.
Yeah.
So that doesn't matter whether you're making glasses, or you grow flowers, or you run a marketing agency, or you work in a local hospital, or I don't want to say a job that people might undervalue. You know where I'm going?
Yeah.
That they're all equal because they're all contributing. And that area where there's this really inherent belief has really exceeds the average life expectation.
That's so interesting. I also wonder if that is because humans are actually wired to take care of each other, and so the doing your best is also giving, right?
Yeah.
And so giving actually makes us feel good, but for some reason I feel like we're forgetting this thing. Like when I run Verve, I did this initiative for like 8 years, and I completely stole it from, I think it was Mind Valley that done it for Valentine's Day, but I called a love week, and we did it every quarter, and the principle was you took someone's name out of a bowl, not a hat, we didn't have those, and then you would do something nice for that person that you picked every day for a week without them knowing. So you had to be like secret about it. And so everyone was doing something for someone else. And it could be anything. You could be like, make them a cup of coffee, write them a little note, maybe buy them pastry, it was so many different things, like Spotify playlists. It was an incredible amount of like. And the interesting thing is like, as I'd done it for a few times, I was like, it's so interesting just how excited everyone gets. Everyone gets really happy.
Yeah.
And so we continued doing it because you could see that it was a really great way, especially between departments and stuff. Because you also had to like make an effort to try to understand that person to see what they would like. So being kind, it was basically about being kind, do something nice. And they really put so much effort in. And then on a Friday, we would stand in a circle and then would talk about what we'd got and stuff and try to guess who your secret angel was. And then whoever it was would, and this I did not orchestrate, this just happened organically. The person he was would just stepped into the circle and went, it was I.
I like it.
And then they always hugged and I was, thank you, that was so funny.
I can see that,
and so it would take forever doing these on the Friday, but it was so lovely. You could feel the energy of people.
Nice.
And then a few years in, I realized my biggest team was the outreach team. So they were like 20 something people. And we had a metric, a scoring metric for the links and stuff that they got. So I was interested in knowing I started off with being whether the performance of like their effort would increase when they got a bonus or a pay rise. And then I also overlaid the Love Week. So it was like 3 years data. And the only thing that increased actual effort and was Love Week. In fact, bonus was the worst. It just got down.
I mean, that's a common thing in agency world. Bonuses and how you give bonuses to staff it just feels like it's a conversation that comes around all the time. But I just don't think it's a motivator. I think there's the four main Gallup. So Gallup is an institute that do employee engagement globally. Something like 12,000 businesses and goodness knows how many hundreds of thousands of people. And they have 12 questions, but it falls into four key themes, which is know what you're meant to be doing. Be clear on... be clear on what's expected of you. Can't remember these now. But I'll edit so you can edit it. So there's four key metrics that Gallup use, but the one that they say is the most important is that you've been given feedback. And it doesn't have to be good feedback, it's just feedback, which really just means you're being communicated with. So pay rises and like agencies, that's my world, are obsessed with bonuses and pay rises and health insurance and all these things. I'm like, but do the people in your business actually know what's expected of them? And do you say thank you? And are they acknowledged by their peers for the work that they do? Because all of those things are going to shift the dial an awful lot more. So similar to your story, we have a thing called Thanks, simple as that. So it's on a online system, and people give their colleagues thanks for something. So it can be a thank you for helping me with that deck.
Yeah.
Or the thank yous are often a well done. So it will be thank you for being awesome. You did brilliant in that pitch, or that report you did was great, or the client gave you great feedback. Thank you for being awesome. And then at the end of the year, we have an awards ceremony, which is a little bit tongue in cheek, but actually it's not, because the people who got the most thanks for those different areas receive rewards and, more importantly, recognition from their colleagues.
Yeah.
And the thanks are broken down into our values in the business.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So you can give a thanks for the behaviours that have been given. So it's acknowledging people's behaviours.
Yeah.
And I won't go into why. They're called the Malkies. We do it at the end of the year. We've actually changed the name now. But it's really important. It's a really important point in time for the agency to give each other respect, thanks, and praise.
It makes such a big difference, and it makes a lot of sense, because when I was working in agencies myself before I set up my own, the thing that made me feel the worst was being excluded from things, or feeling like I wasn't listened to, or I was not important, or it wasn't the pay rises, or it would piss me off, but it wasn't the thing that really broke the trust.
I think one of the main reasons that people set up a business is because they think that they can do it better, and a lot of the time the do it better is not necessarily the operational brilliance of what they're doing, whether they're making something or delivering services. It's often people who've worked for a bad leader will often go on to set up their own business.
Yeah.
Because of that belief of there is a better way of doing this. And it's not about the making of the widgets or the selling of the services. It's the environment within which those things are delivered.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a really common entrepreneurial startup story.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely part of mine. I was really fed up, and I was like, this is not the way that it should be. And then that definitely was like my main focus. I loved SEO and I loved what I was doing, but as soon as I started the agency and started people, like that for me was so much more interesting. Like, how do you motivate people? How do you make them feel accountable to each other, not imaginative, like brands or like companies are really an illusion. It's a collective of people. You're paying them, but a company is not a thing. It's everyone.
Yeah. I think if you've had shitty experiences, it will make you better. And I think that's really important for the people in my business or in any business, younger people in a business. Kind of want them all to have shitty experiences, want them to have a shitty client. I want them to have a difficult time, because the learning opportunities from that are immense. And I think until you've lost, it's quite difficult to know how to win properly. Yeah. So we've all got to have awful clients at some point, or make dreadful mistakes, or work with bad people, unpleasant people who are a bit crap at the jobs, because the learnings from those are as immense as they are when you all of the opposite of that, working with great people, doing great work, getting great results, working in brilliant environments. I think you need that. I think you need to see both sides of the coin for your own personal development. Yeah.
I remember at Verve, there were sometimes people would leave and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so gutted. Like I really struggled when I lost good people, but obviously you have to let them leave. You can't like shut the door and look them in. But what used to happen quite often was that they would come back after a year, and we call them boomerangs.
Right, yeah,
because
okay.
they needed to go somewhere else. There were so many Ververs that started at Verve as their first proper job.
Yeah.
And then they would go somewhere else and they were like, oh, God, no, absolutely not. And you need to see different sides of...
Yeah,
and also what works for you.
Yeah, and it's good for personal development as well. Actually, like we're never unhappy if we have a thing every year which is have no bad leavers, and a bad leaver for me is somebody that would basically be apathetic about working for us.
Yeah.
If they're apathetic and they're leaving because they've become apathetic, that's on us, I think. That's a failing on us because we've not communicated with them, we've not given them enough time, we've not made them feel important, we've not given them the right work to do. So I would consider that to be a bad leaver. If somebody leaves because, I fancy working in a bigger agency, I want to go work in a smaller agency, great, good for you, good luck. I would always kind of support that, so long as I feel like they've learned in our business what they could have learned. If I still think that there's an awful lot more opportunity for growth for them in the business, then I probably would be disappointed. But ultimately, I'd be in favour of people going and getting a variety of experiences. I think it helps their career development.
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually had occasions where I've helped someone get a job somewhere else, or they wanted to go in-house instead of working for agency. Actually, that person ended up being our biggest client.
Right, well, that's not a bad move then.
So I was like, sure, how about here? but I think, I do agree that but there's so much knowledge to gain for having bad experiences. You don't really know what good is before you've experienced, well, that was terrible.
Yeah, all of the things that I think are required for people to flourish in their career has to be balanced between the good and the bad. Like, you're not going to build resilience. You're not going to learn to be brilliant at engaging with your customers if you've never had the bad experiences of how to win over a difficult customer, for example.
True.
So I think we've all got to have bad experiences. Like I really believe that resilience is a massive part of career development, and you're not going to build resilience by having a cushy little number for your entire career. I mean, it'd be nice, but it's not realistic.
No, but how do you? So when you hire and stuff, like, resilience is obviously important to you, and that they will do their 100% best. How do you look for that?
Well, it depends on the senior. I think, is this ageist of me? I'm not really sure. I would want to see greater levels of resilience for people moving into more senior roles in the business. I wouldn't expect younger people to be able to necessarily demonstrate resilience, because I don't think it's a core trait that they probably need at that stage of their careers. Whereas if they're going to get a seat on the board, or they're in a very senior role in the agency, then I think there are certain characteristics that you would be looking for. For me, resilience is one. And I say that in the nuance of agency life, because you need to have resilience in agency, because you lose quite a lot. Whether you're losing pitches, whether you're losing people, whether you're losing clients, because agencies just do lose clients frequently. And so you've got to be able to show the resilience to be able to work and stay focused in an agency. I think if you don't have resilience, then you in our world, though that would apply to lots of other industries. I think you're missing something if you've not built any resilience.
Yes, for sure. Another thing that we were talking about when we had the pre-podcast chat was the difference between, confidence and extroversion, because I feel like me and you are quite similar like that.
Yeah.
And everyone thinks we're like super extroverted. Are you extroverted?
I don't know, like, dictionary definition of extroverted and introverted. I guess if I read it, I'd probably think I was both of them at the same time. I think by nature of what we do as leader of a business, front facing, we have to have a level of confidence because we're the ones that are forever pitching, selling our services. I think I'm probably the most introverted extrovert, or the other way around. I'm very extroverted in that I could quite happily stand on a stage in front of thousands of people. That just wouldn't bother me. I'd be very comfortable with that. I would not get nerves in the slightest. And you could ask me to go and talk about clouds, and I've only got 10 minutes to do some research and go and talk about it. For some reason, that makes me feel really comfortable, and it just wouldn't bother me. But ask me to go to a networking event where I don't know anybody, and I've got to try and make conversation. Just the actual thought of it makes me feel weird.
Yeah.
I just cringe inside at that idea. Yesterday, our strategist, we had a client in, and our strategist said, "So towards the end of the session, we're going to do a bit of role playing," and I was like, "No, we're not." And it was just the word. I was like, "What do you mean? Who's doing role playing? What do you mean by role playing?" And I just said, "Right, I just need to reframe that. That what you're actually going to do is you're going to ask the client questions that you want them to respond to ensure we know the answers." So you're just going to have a back and forth, but let's not call it role play. Like the idea of doing drama at school just still now absolutely fills me with dread.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think there are times when I can feel very extroverted, and I think it's probably to do with my security and safe space. And if I don't feel like I've got that, then I will feel extremely introverted, and I won't want to talk to anybody, and I'll want to hide or walk away, or run away. But then equally, I am very confident if I've got reasons to be confident.
Yeah.
It depends on what's expected of me, I guess. But if you want to talk to me about marketing, well, I know about marketing, so I'll have a conversation with you about that, and I'll be really confident about it. So I think I do have a lot of confidence. I am quite extroverted, but I can become extremely introverted if the environment makes me uncomfortable. Yeah. Is that introversion? Yeah, I'm not really sure.
I think so. I think the definition is that extroversion is where you get energy from being with people, and introversion is more that it drains you and you need time alone.
Yeah, and again, I'm definitely both of those things. So I love being around people, and I definitely do get energy from being around people. But then sometimes when I leave that environment and I get the safety of solace and silence, I might think, wow, that was intense. That was overwhelming. But I can perform in those environments. Yeah. But I like being on my own, but not for great lengths of time. I went away on my own for 4 days, and other than ordering food, I don't think I said a word to anybody. And I really enjoyed that. But could I live on a desert island on my own? Absolutely not. No, that would be awful. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm probably, I think I have characteristics of all of those things. Definitely get energy in groups, definitely get energy being around people and interacting. And I love having conversations with interesting people. But yeah, probably as I've aged, I've become more and more aware that actually I find it quite draining. It can be, I can find it really exhausting.
Yeah, I tend to be like, because everyone thinks I'm super extroverted, and I definitely feel like I now know after my ADHD diagnosis that there is a reason why I kind of show different parts. I might seem more, but I completely crash. Like after those kind of like network or the conferences and stuff, like in Ibiza, for example, I would be like completely dead, like just sitting on the bed, just staring into the wall for a bit, because it's almost like I just go like,
you need your brain to shut down for a little bit. Yeah,
and then I need, and also I feel like I enjoy talking to people, and I really enjoy being around people. It mostly give me energy. Apart from like, there's certain type of people that doesn't do that. If I feel similar to you, that if I feel like people are being very judging or I get like a weird vibe, I I just cannot be
Yeah,
there.
we've
Then
had
I'll
those
just go.
conversations
I just go.
when we've been in environments, and I've seen that with you before.
Yeah.
What about your daughters?
Oh, they are very similar. Very
Right.
similar to me, where they really enjoy being around people, but then they're very very similar. Especially the youngest one, she's like identical
Right.
to me, and she needs alone time. And then I need kind of like alone time where I'm kind of like pottering and like doing things and kind of talking to myself.
Yeah.
To process as well. But most of the time, if I'm alone for too long, and I haven't talked to any adults, I don't feel like I process everything. I process through talking.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
And so if I don't have any, if I'm just talking, I would definitely go crazy. Which is
I think your children are often a good mirror as to because when I ask you the question, I'm interested as to whether your brain went to one or the other in terms of, oh, she definitely has that characteristic, she definitely has that characteristic, and it brings your own behaviours out.
Yes.
So I've got 4 boys. My 2 eldest grown-up boys. The eldest is extremely extroverted. Hates being on his own, will busy himself constantly, barely sleeps. And my second son is, I'm not sure, he's probably quite introverted. So in a noisy environment, he's quite happy to just sit and be part of it, listen and join in here and there. My eldest son will be the one that wants to dominate the conversations. And I have both of those traits, right?
Yes.
I can see both of those things in me. On Christmas Day, on Boxing Day, we went to my family, big family, lots of noise. And my 22-year-old got to the end of the day and he said, I'm going home. My battery's done.
Yeah.
I'm dead. So I'm going to go home and have some time on my own. My eldest son would never in a million years say something like that.
Yeah.
So I try to see myself in both of them, and I can see both.
Yeah.
In that environment,
Yeah.
I would 100% stay.
Yeah.
But if that was an environment where I didn't necessarily know people, or it was a networky type thing, or a party that I was invited to and I didn't necessarily know many people, I would hit a wall very quickly of, right, I'm done, I need to go now.
Yeah.
I
And
don't
how
feel
do you
like
leave?
I've got anything else. I've got no value to offer to this now, so I'm going to go.
How would you leave? Would you say bye, or would you do Elisa and just go, I'm just going to go to the toilet and never come back?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm not sure. Either or.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do find that in social environments, I'm thinking about times I went for dinner, there was 15 agency owners, and I got to the point where I thought, I'm tired. My brain is tired now of these conversations.
Yeah.
I now need to go and create a conversation with somebody else. I need to think of something to talk about. There's a guy stood there at the bar. I'm going to have to go and talk to him because there's just the two. It overwhelmed me. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going home instead.
Yeah.
And I just turned around and that was it. Got my coat and I left.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't feel I had the energy or. I think there's for me there's something quite egotistical about it as well. If I don't have something interesting to say, or I don't think I'm going to offer value, then I'm not going to be part of it, because that's what I'm here for.
Okay.
I've got to offer value to everything.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not going to be part of it, and that's a real limiting.
Yeah. Well, I
really struggle to just be.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Oh my God. Me too. That's, to be honest, I feel like I've only arrived in my body like 2 years ago.
Right.
As in, like, I feel like I was always thinking about what is next and what I'm doing and the purpose of everything. And so just being, it was either comatose, laying on the sofa, binge watching something, or I am action. So like the being in between has taken me so long to be able to just.
I think that's it's taken my brain to something else. I'm not quite sure how we segue to it. But I think that's a common trait. I think people who are entrepreneurial or in pursuit of success in the traditional metrics of growing a business or making money or being a great parent, whatever it is, there's this always on
Yeah.
mindset, and I think it does get exhausting. And I think there's a lot of what you see. So midlife crisis is a real thing, because people are so busy doing that they don't know how, they've stopped being, or they don't know how to be, and then they crash at some point, and the doing just becomes overwhelming. I think there's a where I was going to go with that was there's a great book called the Second Mountain, and I'm slightly bastardizing the book here, so I might not be 100% accurate about it, but the idea, or how I interpreted this, is lots of people climb the first mountain and realize when they get to the top of it, oh fuck, it's the wrong mountain. So they didn't enjoy the journey on the way up there. They didn't look at the views when they were climbing the mountain. There was a real struggle, but they didn't really want to have to handle any of those struggles. They moaned about each one of those struggles as they climbed the mountain. Then when they got to the top of the mountain, they actually realised what was at the top of the mountain isn't what they wanted. The view isn't what they expected it to be. The prize at the end, at the top of the mountain, wasn't right. So they come crashing down the side of that mountain, and then they climb the second mountain, which really is about,
oh my god,
it's a bit of a midlife crisis thing, right? It's a bit of a,
this sounds exactly like what happened to me.
there are lots of people who go through that. Often the crash down the other side of the mountain is a big life thing. In lots of people, divorce, which I happily speak openly about that. The crashing down the side of the mountain for me was my divorce, because I realised that my life was about the business and my children, or the business and then my children and my wife became an excuse for the obsession about the business. So how many other people say, here's a picture of my children, I'm doing it for them. Personally, I think that's a really, really terrible reason to be doing a business. You should be doing it for fulfillment, happiness, enjoy the journey along the way. The bits that may benefit your children, but the idea that you are running a business or existing to the benefit of your children, I find actually either sad or extremely inaccurate, and it's what people think that they're doing. So many people climb this mountain, and they then get all the money, and they realise there's still fucking miserable, or they have this incredibly successful business and it still doesn't fulfill them, or it's a real, I mean, it's I dare I say it's quite a masculine thing, because I think it's more, and I'm not saying men, I'm saying a masculinity thing, that people pursue this success to get somewhere, to realise it wasn't actually worth it and it's not what they wanted in the first place.
Yeah.
So the second mountain they climb with the much more willing and much more present, and they want to look at the view and they want to see where they're going, and they're always looking ahead as well as being mindful of what's gone before, and they enjoy some of the hurdles and they see them as interesting and exciting challenges. And I think that resonates quite a lot with people who've had successful businesses, have hit that top of the mountain success. I mean, it's extremely common in sport. Gold medal. The gold medal syndrome is the worst 24 hours of a Olympian's life is the 24 hours after winning the gold medal, because there's this. Is this it? I thought it was going to be better than this. I'm the world's best at X. I've won the gold medal. I've been training for this for 14 years, whatever it might have been, from childhood, and it's actually not that good. And they forgot to enjoy the journey along the way. I think it's very, very common in sport. I think they call it. I think is it Steve Peters, the psychologist, calls it the gold medal syndrome. Yeah,
I think I definitely had that. As soon as I spent so much time on that hill climbing to get to that bit, I was
and
like,
it was the business.
It was the selling the business. Yeah. And I had in my head, because my parents were both bankrupt when I grew up. I never had any money when I was a single. I got it so into my head, if I can just do this, I can. And saying that though, I don't think I built the business just on the money. Like I never made that the main, but that was the goal for me. Like I would get to the bit, and as soon as I got to the bit, I remember the second, like the moment I got the money in my bank for the first payment, and I had £3.97 in my saving account the day before, and the feeling was like emptiness, like a big question mark, as in like, yeah, okay, like I was forcing myself to feel excited, but what I for a split second thought like, oh yeah, no, this is great, was actually nervous. And then literally a week later I asked for divorce. Right. And then I had divorce, then I had the absolute carnage, then I had
you quickly came down that mountain.
Oh my God, it was like, the wood. And then I had the last year of the burnout, that 2020. So everything kind of turned into a totally different results than what I thought, like a mirage of something that I thought was there that wasn't there. But it was when all of that kind of like just... when I suddenly could see what was actually there, that's when things started. And that's when I started. And it would literally be like, it wouldn't stop happening. It was like that moment where I was like, I should feel happy now. I can do all the things. And then I got divorced, then had an incredible hard first year of the earnout, then 2020, then exiting the business without getting any money for the last bit. Then my mum died, and then I did comedy.
Yeah, and then you became stand-up. I think there's probably something in it about... there's something really interesting in that, right? That if there are people who are lining up for a big exit, a big sale, a big moment in life, it would be interesting for people around them to say, you need to work on your mindset through this process to ensure, I guess, that the reality is going to meet your expectations. And actually, what are your expectations? Happiness equals reality minus expectations. And that, I think, the gold medal, the sell business for millions of pounds, whatever it might be, it's when the realization of the reality doesn't meet the expectations. But probably it's not the reality that's wrong, it's the expectations. How many times would somebody say who sold a business, I thought I was going to, and that doesn't exist? Wouldn't it be really interesting if in M&A firms there was somebody that sat down with those people and said, just want to spend a couple of hours with you just to understand what is your expectation at the end of this journey? What do you think life is going to look like and feel like, and what do you think that first day of the sale is going to feel like? Because we've done this 100 times, and I can tell you.
Yeah, I don't think it would be M&A firms that should do that, because they.
No, you know what I mean.
But it would be really useful.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? If somebody was going to sell their business, then, or just have those big moments in time,
to have the transition.
They prepare themselves for that difference between expectation and reality, simply because I don't think they've quite. Really garnered what their expectations are.
But I think there's something else than expectation, because one of the things that I did quite quickly realize was that I am not a materialistic kind of person, so I didn't buy a fancy car or whatever. I did buy a Viking outfit, because that makes sense. but what I hadn't, my main expectation, which I think really fell apart, is that somehow I would feel like I would feel fulfilled, or I feel like there was something else. It was, and I couldn't really quite put my finger on it. And I just didn't feel how I thought I would feel. And it wasn't necessarily even the achievement. I then realized, and that's when I started like unraveling and really being able to look at who I was. And I think this is another thing with midlife that we were talking about, the midlife crisis. I think a big part of it is that you adapt so much throughout your life that you become someone that you're not. And then it gets to midlife where you're like, shit, we're halfway there. We need to like, what do I even want? What do I actually like?
I think the other part of it is you can't complete life. Like it's not a thing to be done.
No, that's not
completed.
the goal.
So and I think that is what people get with the for example, selling the business. That when I sell the business, well, I've ticked that box of life, that work thing, and that money thing. Well, I've done it, I've ticked it, so I can now go focus on something else. Well, no, because you never complete on any area of life, are you? And I think that's probably a part of it. I am one of these statistics that there are two key points of divorce. One of them is very soon after the wedding. I was with Caroline for 15 years, married for 12 months. And the marriage was the same thing of she thought it was the completion of relationship and whatever. I'm no psychologist, but that's how I interpret that scenario. And it didn't complete love, life, family, and just exposed her to some of the this isn't. I thought this was it, and it's not. And so selling a business and getting married, they're all kind of points in time when I think there's this completion element of life, and it's not, and that's why there can be a quick fallout off the back of it.
I like the idea of a second mountain though.
Yeah.
In fact, I was just talking about this week, how I tend to be better with like bigger problems. And I always say, give me a mountain, I'll climb it.
Yeah.
Give me some pebbles, I'll fall over it. And so
that's interesting. And so if I ask you the question of, I want you to visualize the first mountain, or I want you to visualize an actual mountain. Mm-hmm. And now I want you to visualize the second mountain, or perhaps both mountains together.
Okay.
How big is the second mountain in comparison to the first?
Definitely not as big.
Yeah. So I've asked this question of a lot of people. And I would say 90% of people, their visualization of the second mountain is always much smaller.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. So maybe is that the part that once you've got to the mountain and you realize, like, just getting to the mountain wasn't the point, you realize that you don't need to make the mountain so high, or what do you think?
I think probably the first mountain is probably a real, I mean, we're talking visually, it's big, nobody says, sorry, I take that back. Not many people would say, I want to run my own business and be an entrepreneur because I want to be just okay with money and be able to get by. Like, no, they don't.
No,
they want to be wealthy, rich, choose your wording, have luxurious holidays, be a millionaire, be a multimillionaire, whatever it might be. So the things they set are really big. I think if you want to do something really successfully, I don't know. I think there's probably something in about how you don't have quite so. I don't want to say you don't have as much ambition. Maybe it's more realistic. Maybe there's less obstacles on that mountain, or you don't need to climb so high to be as fulfilled.
Yeah,
there's definitely something in that, though. The fact that 90% of people will tell me the second mountain is.
I think that's smaller. So interesting. And if I'm honest, like the main reason I don't picture the second mountain so big is like it doesn't need to be. I don't need it to be a big. Like I would. There are loads of things I want to do, but I want to do them because I find it interesting, or I want to do it. So they don't tend to be. Do you think maybe like achievement ambition is more tied to reaching higher, while ambition for fulfillment or for you tend to be more focused?
I think internal fulfillment as you get... I'm always really mindful of doing the older, younger thing. Yeah. And that's probably a lot of self-reflection as I've matured, the fulfillment changes and is much more achievable and reachable in my mind versus the younger version of myself's targets and goals.
Yeah.
So now what would be successful business to me, employing great people, doing really good work, living a good life, feeling like I'm being challenged, and I've always got something new to be doing. That's the 34, 35 to 40-year-old version of me. The first answer would have been about money and measures and egotistical things. Again, take it to our industry. There are two key things that people will obsess about is headcount and revenue.
Oh, yeah. Which is
Like that makes you a good agency.
No.
And I think they are the thing. And so how many people in agency world will say, oh, we're not really making much money, but because we reinvest it all? I'm like, well, no, because you've told me already that you want to be successful and you want to make good money, and so the priorities are probably not quite right because you're chasing the ego bits of that. I think when you've been in it for longer, the ego bits you just don't really give two shits about as you get older. So to go back to the two mountain things, I think if you put a load of obstacles on the first mountain, those obstacles are not on the second mountain because you just don't care about so many of the things. Or if each step of the mountain is another thing to achieve, there's an awful lot more you put on your first mountain than the second mountain because you realise all the shit that you did on that first one doesn't matter. Yeah,
that's so true. Yeah, actually, one of the things I said after leaving Verve was that if I start another company, company meetings have to be able to be done in a black cab, so no more than 6 people.
Okay, yeah.
Because that was weirdly, that was like one of my, I think my superpower was people, but also my kryptonite. And it just, I don't think I have it in me to do like the from scratch to big in there. But it's interesting, isn't it? That I definitely feel like my second mountain is a lot more about being fulfilled in myself than it's being about achieving for what it looks like on the outside.
Yeah.
Which similar to you in that 30s stage, like it was all about like what it looks like from the outside. I couldn't give a shit. Like you see on the outside of my house, it looked like I don't care about those things.
Like I've done quite a lot of counselling. The one thing that I really remember is the counsellor would never ask me if I was happy. They would ask me about my state, because happiness is fleeting and momentary, and your state is what you say you are at any given time, and the two things are very happy. So two things are very different. So I could be doing something that makes, and we're probably treading into a world around depression, because highly depressed and suicidal people can have very extreme moments of joy and happiness, can't they? We've seen that a million times with celebrities. And I think there's a real difference between happiness and state and contentment. So if I'm ever thinking to myself about where I am in life, I never ask myself if I'm happy. I ask myself if I'm content. And I think contentment is a million times more important than happiness, because we can all create happiness. I can go watch a movie that makes me happy, or I could buy something that gives me a dopamine hit and makes me happy. But is it going to make a difference to the ongoing contentment of my life? I think contentment's much more important, and you probably get to realise that more. Again, I'm being slightly ageist, but you get to experience that and understand that more with age and experience.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love that. That is actually a perfect place to end this.
Okay, good.
I am very content. Thank you so much. Good for you. It wasn't so good for me. Thank you so much. This was brilliant. Pleasure. Thank you for being so open and willing to chat about so many things.
It's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
It.
Yeah.
Thanks.